Okay, let us just get started right away. So this is our LootCrate system right here that we made in the previous episode. Now I was requested to see if I could add it into my inventory system as well. Unfortunately, I do not have the original inventory system right now. I have the action bar system, which has a inventory system that we could use. Unfortunately, every time that I migrate over, it does not work, so I can't actually migrate it. This should be just a bug on my end, but and it should be easily migratable to you guys. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to set up a dummy inventory system that's going to comprise of the inventory slots themselves and the main function that you need in order to add this into your inventory system, right? So if you already have the other inventory system that I made, then this should be just a cakewalk for you, and you can just skip along to the place where we add the function for add item. What we are going to do, however, here is set up a dummy inventory system. Basically just add some stuff to the one that we already have here, and to visualize how we add it into the system itself. So let us just get started with that. The first thing that we need to do is set up the dummy inventory system. So I'm going to go into blueprint class over an inventory system. I'm going to add a actor component. I'm going to call this my AC underscore inventory component, and I can open that up. In here we're going to need 4 variables. The first one is max slots, which is an integer. Second one is max horizontal slots. And the third and fourth one we need to add some things for. So let's add a new folder, call it interface, open that up and add a widget blueprint, use widget. I'm going to call it my WBP underscore inventory slot. And inventory slot for us is just going to be very simple in this demonstration. It's just going to be an image. Set it to the side on screen. I'm going to make image size 64 by 64. And we can make it variable and call it item icon. And that's it for that right now. Then we can go back into structs and enums, make a new structure, and it's going to be called our st underscore inventory contents. Inventory contents will have 2 variables. First is going to be the master item class reference called item, and the second one is going to be the integer called max amount. Save it and close out. Now over on our inventory slot, we're going to go to the graph for a second and add a variable. It's going to be our inventory ref. Going to be type AC underscore inventory component, editable and exposed on spawn. Add 2 more variables. The second one is going to be index, which is of course a integer, editable, exposed on spawn, and the third one is going to be our player ref. And we can't actually add that because we don't have a player in our project. So I'm going to go into add over here, and I'm just going to add our first person character to this project. And then we can change the integer to be first person character, editable and exposed on spawn. Now we can go into our content folder, search for our first person character, and we can add in our components list, add our AC underscore inventory component. I'm going to make it, well, is this not? Actually, max slots and max horizontal should be exposed on spawn and editable. Compile, head back to first person character, and I'm going to make it 25 by 5 on the right side here. Now that we have this set up, we can basically, let's set up a HUD ref over here on our player character. That's going to be WBP underscore HUD, like so. And then we can right click anywhere, type keyboard, and find keyboard B for me. And we can make a new function. It's going to be called toggle inventory. Now toggle inventory is not going to be able to be completed yet because we need to go into our HUD for a second. So into your WBP HUD and add a uniform grid panel into your canvas. I'm going to move it into the bottom middle, size that to content. I'm going to make it variable. I'm going to call it my player inventory. I'm going to make slot padding 5 and leave everything else as is. Now we can go back into our first person, on visibility, set that to be hidden. Now we can go back to our first person character, get your player inventory, get the visibility, and let's switch on it. So if we're visible, we want to set visibility to be hidden. And if it's hidden, we want to set it to be visible. You can get your player controller, set show mouse cursor. So if it's visible, we want to set it to be hidden. If it is hidden, we want to set it to be visible. And that's it for that. This isn't going to work because we don't actually have a HUD ref valid. So let's go to our WBP HUD, go into our graph, and on our construct here, first things first, we're going to cast to first person character, and the object is get player character. Now if you following along, you will know that this isn't going to work yet because our first person character isn't our player character in this project. Promote this to a variable, call it player ref. Out from the return node, set HUDREF. HUDREF is our self, and our reward interface also needs the HUDREF later on, but we're going to leave it as this for now. So now if I go to my player character again, into my event graph, I can now drag out my toggle inventory. And before we forget, let's go to edit up top left, project settings, maps and modes, and our default pawn class, we're going to leave it as first person character now. So if I now hit play, you can see that our first person character is up here. We can press B and everything, it's not going to do anything though. And that is because our inventory slots aren't actually generated yet. Let's go into our WBP HUD. Actually, let's go to our AC inventory component again and fix this. So we needed 4 variables, as I said. So the third one is going to be slot refs, type WBP inventory slot, and that's going to be an array. The fourth one is going to be inventory contents, and that's going to be of our structure. So st underscore inventory contents, and that's going to be an array as well. And as we do on our inventory system, we're going to resize this to be the slot size, or the max slot size. Now we can basically go to our HUD. We can make a new function, and it's going to be called generate inventory. Generate inventory is simply going to get our player ref, get our AC get inventory component, get refs, and clear that array. So we start with a clean slate. We also want to clear our grid panel. So let's go to our designer, and our player inventory is here, and it is variable, so it should be fine. We can clear that. And now we can go into get our inventory component again, get our contents, do a for each loop. And for each of these, we're going to create a widget. Widget is going to be our slots. Now the inventory ref is very simple. It's our inventory component. Player ref is our player. Index is the array index of the contents array. Once this is done, we're going to return. We're not done yet though. We're going to get our slot refs. We're going to add to that array. We're going to add the return node of the widget that we just created. And then we're going to get our player inventory uniform grid. Add child to uniform grid. What are we going to add? Well, we're going to add the return node of the widget that we just created and add it to the array. And the row and column, so we're going to do array index divided by the max horizontal. We're just speeding through this, by the way, because this is just going to be a dummy inventory, as I said. If you want the full inventory, follow the full inventory tutorial. Inventory version 2 is the one I recommend. So we're going to plug that into the row. Right click, division, whole, and reminder. Array index goes into the dividend, and the divisor is the max horizontal, and the remainder goes into the column. This is it for our generate inventory slots. Now we can go back to our HUD event graph, and I am actually going to set up a delay at the end here, and then we can generate the inventory at the end of the delay. If I hit play, now we have our inventory here. So let's go to our AC inventory component, and AC inventory component is going to have three functions. We're going to have get item info at index. It is just going to have a input of an integer, which is going to be index. It's going to be a pure function. It's going to have two outputs. First one is going to be item, so master item class reference. Second one is an integer called quantity. Get your contents out, get a copy at the index, split this open, and move item and quantity into it like so. And that's our get item info at index. Now we need our set item info at index. It's going to have three inputs. First one is an integer called index. Second one is the item. Third one is the quantity, which is an integer. This is not a pure function. Right click your index, promote that to a local, call it local index. Get your inventory contents, set array element, index is the local index, item and such is just to plug in like so. Now we need to go into our inventory slot for a second, and we're going to right click and make a custom event. I'm going to call it update slot. Update slot is going to get the inventory ref. It's going to get item info at index. Index is our index. We're going to check if the item is valid into a branch. If this is not valid, we're not going to do anything in this tutorial. If it is valid, however, we're going to get our item icon set brush from texture, and the texture comes from our class defaults of the item. Like so. That is our update slot. Go back to your inventory component, get your slot refs, get a copy at the local index, and call your update slot function. Once that is done, you can return. And then we're going to set up a dummy add item function. Now this is the function that you the sole reason why we are making this little dummy inventory system is so you get this function. We're gonna have two inputs. First is gonna be a master item class reference. It's gonna be called item to add, and the next one is amount to add. I know I use amount and quantity quite interchangeably, but it means the same. Promote to local, so local item and local amount. Then we're gonna loop through our inventory contents with a break and see if we find a free slot. So break open this array element, check if the item is a valid class. If that is not a valid class, then we're gonna break out, because then we found a free slot in our inventory. Back into a second branch, uncompleted. If it is true, well, we're just going to print out that we got no room and return. If it is not valid, however, then we're going to get our inventory contents set array element at the array index that we found it at. The local item is the item. The local amount is the amount. Size that to fit. Get your slot refs. Get a copy at the same array index. I'm not bothering to make this tidy or anything, because as I said, this is just a dummy inventory system to show you how you can add it to the inventory. And then we can return. So now we basically have the thing set up. Now if I go to the systems, LootCrate system interface, reward interface, here I mentioned that we need a HUD ref. And we need the HUD ref so that we can get access to the player inventory. Then you go added the variable HUD ref of type WBP HUD. Go back to your HUD now. Find your reward interface. Set HUD ref into the chain of HUD refs here. And that is beautiful. As you can see, we have our inventory system. Nothing will actually work yet. Go back to your inventory WBP reward interface. If you now see here, I've typed in give the item to inventory here. So we're going to remove that. Get your HUD ref. Get your player ref. Get your inventory component and type in your add item function. What item are you going to add? Well, you're going to add the actual contents to add at 39 here. The quantity I'm going to leave at 0 because we didn't have quantity in our LootCrate system. If you want a quantity, you can easily figure out how to do that. For me, I did not bother to add it right now, but this is it will. If you added items to it, you would basically have a structure similar to the inventory contents, right? And that would be an array, and you would be getting an array out here. So you would get the item and the amount. I'm just going to add 1 to this. So when I play, I unlock, open up our inventory system. It's behind everything. Don't bother that. And we got our spears. That is now added to our inventory system. If I now go and unlock one more, then we get another one. And that is basically how you would, if you have the LootCrate system and the inventory system, this is basically how you would add the items into the inventory once the LootCrate is completed. Okay, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the idea for this video. If you have any other requests or questions, please let me know. I do also have a Patreon. I will leave the link in the description. Same with the Discord, which is probably the best way to get help when I am there. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave a comment if you did as well. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.